Hi, everybody. We have Miss Ali Linan today, who is an editor at the Community Impact newspaper here in Austin, Texas. How are you doing today, Ali?
Well, thank you.
Okay. I thank you for taking the time out to do this interview. Ali had interviewed me and a few of the youth at a jail to jobs location. And so I was so impressed, not only that she liked dogs, she liked my dog at the time. So I was impressed about that, but just that she was so very professional. And the article that she wrote was not only profound, but it was very detailed. And so tell us a little bit about yourself and basically how you became an editor.
Yeah, so I'm a Texas girl. I'm from El Paso originally, and moved over to Austin for this job actually as a reporter covering Georgetown, which I did for about 2.5 years, and have now become the editor of both the Georgetown edition and the Leander Cedar Park edition. Not that long ago, starting in early February. So
Okay.
I got here.
Is this a career that you wanted to pursue from an early age, or something happened that put this on your radar?
No, I've kind of those annoying people that always knew what I wanted to do. And I would say since about middle school, I knew I wanted to be a journalist. I loved writing, I love reading, and I love learning. And that's exactly what journalism is.
Okay, that's great. A friend of mine once told me that when your passion and your purpose meet, that's a great job to have, and especially when you have the giftings or the graces to do that. So, what has been the most difficult part of your job, as well as what has been the most rewarding part of your job?
I would say the most difficult part um, is, I guess, this past year, pivoting into covering COVID, into covering Black Lives Matter, into covering vaccine, like everything that has happened in this last year, the elections. It was a lot of having to know a lot of different subjects, a little bit about a lot, and being versatile in what you would write. So at Community Impact, we were predominantly before COVID a print edition, and we would focus on these long form print stories that we would take time to write. When COVID happened, we had to pivot completely into fast paced, get things online, breaking news kind of stories. And so that just came, that like just forced a different type of mentality within the newsroom itself, and like what we considered a story before COVID and after COVID. Um, but I would also say it was very rewarding. I got to write a lot of stories that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. And they've become my favorite stories that I've written in my for almost 5 years career, just because CI previously was very technical. We were very like, what is happening at the city level and the county level, elected officials,
Mhm.
um, transportation projects, and things that didn't really involve people. But with COVID, we had to pivot and focus on people, people's stories, their businesses, their loss of loved ones, kind of just really, I mean, generally humanizing what could be a very cut dry career, and that was super rewarding for me for sure.
Okay. Can you tell me a piece of one of your favorite stories? Because it sounds like you were really enjoying that. Is there one that
Yeah,
stands out?
I think my favorite one, it came out, I think, in October, and it was on funerals in Georgetown, and
Mhm.
kind of like how they've changed how people have to sit 6 feet apart from each other. People are too afraid to go to funerals, or they were then, and kind of just the practice of mourning changed. People were watching funerals on screen, and then they were, sending condolences from afar versus where they were used to travel to attend a funeral. They couldn't hug a loved one or comfort them in the same way because they had to keep distance, and so kind of how that, both how the industry and the practice of mourning kind of changed.
Okay. Okay. So, has social media affected what you do? because I've got a follow-up question, but I just want to ask that: how has social media affected what you do as an editor, and especially concerning news?
Yeah, definitely has changed the news industry even since I was in college. Which was in I graduated in 2017, so 4 years ago. And one way it's changed news is everyone gets their news on social media now,
Hmm.
and they get it in little snippets. So these beautiful long stories that we used to write, you've got to really capture them in a certain number of characters and on in the headline, and you got to be able to pull them through the whole article because people want things fast and furious now. And then it's also just, I mean, impacted how we as journalists market ourselves. We use social media to push our stories out, to get people to read them. And, it's our own brand as just the journalist. And then we have to do it also as the company. Um,
Okay. Okay. Because when I was on my way to work this morning, there was a discussion on a local radio station that they were basically saying that there are some people who don't want to get vaccinated because they don't trust the government. Well, the way that that tied in with newspapers or various other entities that basically put out the news, there seemed to be an undercurrent of, in some cases, distrust, meaning, are we getting the news that is really news? Or are we getting the news that is coming from newspapers or organizations that are influenced by dollars and sales? And seeing as I was going to have this interview with you today, it just struck me: integrity is a key. And I just want to hear from you, and anyone that's going to watch, they're going to hear from you. When you say integrity as a reporter or an editor, what does that look like to you personally?
yeah, integrity is everything. Reputation is everything, right? Your name is your brand. In journalism, your name is what how people recognize you. You'll be walking on the street, no one's going to know your face, but they're going to know your name. Uh, so yes, it's hard. I think because there's a lot of distrust, certainly at the national level,
Mm-hmm.
and that's honestly and pretty much television as well, television national level. I would say it's because they're on a 24-hour news cycle now. They have to create content constantly, which
Mm.
is exhausting, and you always have to have something new for people. And when that becomes the case, you can have a lot of talking heads, people who are more like an opinion journalist, not so much like a fact-based, hard news journalist.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think those get mushed together very often, where people will see, like, on CNN or on Fox or on whatever channel you're watching, it's someone who's it's a show that's not a hard news journalism show, but when you see that it's on a news channel, you automatically assume that it is, and that's not always the case. And there's opinion pieces in print journalism as well. So I think to combat it, it's just news literacy, being able to tell what's real news and what's not real news. And I would say at the local level, there are no dollars. So influence from money is not as big of a thing as it would be at a national level. And people tend to trust local news sources more than they're going to trust national. And they've done polls on this forever, at least a decade, on like how local news has more trust than
Mm-hmm.
anything that people see at the national level or international level. And it's kind of going back to integrity. It's building the relationships with the community. When you're local, you know people, you know these businesses, you know all of the main players in whether it's city council or the county commissioners. You know them, and they know you, and so it's kind of a more there's more trust in there than I think at the local level than I think at the national level, for sure.
Okay. I mean, that's great insight. That's something that I'll take away from our conversation, that one, there's not that many dollars local, but in the context of there's more relationships than dollars. And so I really appreciate that answer. And so if you were at the end of your career, I know it's just beginning and it's blossoming, but I like to think big. If you were at the end of your career and you look back over the things that you had accomplished, what is something you want to be able to say about the career that you've had?
Um, I would say that going back to integrity, that I wrote stories that are important to me. You know, I'm a person of color, and I've been a big advocate for that in all my newsrooms to kind of push that forward to make sure newsrooms are more diverse, to make sure our content is more diverse, that we're talking to people from different communities than used to be talked to, and for sure that's like my biggest passion within the news industry is to push that forward, and I hope that that's what I'm able to keep doing moving forward. Even if no one knows me for it, I definitely will want to keep pushing for that.
Okay. Final question. If you were giving advice to you said that you knew that you wanted to be a reporter in middle school. Am I correct? Okay. If you were speaking to a middle schooler who wanted to pursue the same career that you are as a reporter, what advice would you give that individual to be successful?
Oh man, I think it's if it's what you want to do, do it. A lot of people are going to try to detract you from journalism. Doesn't make a lot of money. Doesn't have a lot of respect in it. People, they trash the media all the time. Um, but there is a purpose in journalism, and you'll find that in newsrooms. Everyone's there because they have a collective purpose. They know that it's for the greater good, and as long as you keep your eyes on that you have a purpose and you're doing this, because people have a right to know what their elected officials are doing, what's happening in their cities or their states. um, that will make all of the noise of people telling you on social media how awful you are at your job, or this or that, and it just keeps you moving forward.
Okay, I really appreciate it. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the viewers before we go? I really appreciate you taking time out. It was a pleasure to meet you. Your answers were not only informed, but they gave me some things to think about and a perspective to have on reporters that I had not had. I wasn't against them, but I wasn't for them. I was just like a reporter. I think that that's an important job, but now I have some details.
Yeah. No, I think um, it's a great career, and you love to learn. This is like the job for you because you're constantly learning something new. If you like to talk to people, this is the job for you. And yeah, I've always encouraged people. There's not enough people in journalism anymore,
Hmm.
and it's a dying field, and I hope people will consider it at least.
Okay, well, this is a sale. So what's your elevator pitch right now to be a journalist?
That would be it. It it's a lot of fun if this is what you like to do. If you're not someone who can sit at a desk all day, I certainly can't sit at a desk all day. I have to keep moving. I have to keep doing something different every day. That is what journalism is, and we need more of them for sure.
Okay, I appreciate your time. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
You
Okay,
too. Thank you for asking me to do this.
okay.